Hi, I'm Cindy Halpern, and as most of you know, I went to the Caribbean, but there was a little issue with that. My daughter became ill and had to be rushed to the hospital, and she had told me the day I came back in Fort Lauderdale, and I thought to myself, I needed to see her, but I didn't know how that was going to happen because we had a flight from Fort Lauderdale back to Long Island, and I didn't know how that was going to happen. But anyhow, my boyfriend and I were having breakfast, and I realized I'd lost my jacket. And I just lost it in the line. I had it around my waist. It must have slipped off. So I immediately went back, and the porter told me, oh, you have to go to Lost and Found. And I just knew it wasn't there. And as I was looking for my jacket, a man said, oh, Cindy, and it was Rhonda's father. I went with Rhonda to Poland on the March of the Living, and I'd met her family on the cruise. And he recognized me, and he said, oh, what's wrong? I told him, well, my daughter's in the hospital in Orlando, and I don't know how to get to her. And he said, oh, my other daughter, Karen, is going to Orlando to bring her daughter back to work. She worked for Disney. And he said, well, think about that. So I went out to my boyfriend, and he said, well, you could try it. So then I went back to Rhonda's family, and Rhonda gave me the number for Southwest. And I called Southwest, and they said, yes, there was a flight from Orlando to Long Island at 8:40. I could get on that. I could book that. I could change my flight, and Ted could continue on from Fort Lauderdale to Long Island, and I'd meet him there. So the funny thing about all this is if I hadn't lost my jacket, I wouldn't run into the father, and the father wouldn't have told me about the daughter going to Orlando. Excuse me. But it goes further back than that. Rhonda recognized me on the flight going to Fort Lauderdale in Long Island, and then we didn't run into her on the ship for quite a while, and then towards the end we ran into her on the ship. And it was just a lot of coincidences, and my friend Rose has been taking a course, or took a course, on reaching out to the universe to get the universe to give you what you need. And I kind of feel like that happened here. Of course, I put, instead of the universe, God, or my angels, but it's the same difference. And I just reached out somehow. I got what I needed to visit Robin. And then Robin's boyfriend drove me to the airport, which was a big help to me. And it just, the universe seemed to align to allow me to reach out to my daughter and to see her the few hours in Orlando. And it's just weird how that happened. And you could look at metaphysics, or you could look at religion, you could look at philosophy. Each system has its own explanation of why this happened. But then a funny thing happened when I got home. This guy that knew my little brother's story reached out to me on Facebook, because I kept saying, well, give me a sign of why this happened for me, why I was allowed to do this. And for this guy to reach out and say, well, I haven't seen, I haven't remembered your brother in years. My little brother passed away when he was 15, and I haven't remembered him in years. But then he reached out to me suddenly, and that was a confirmation that God and angels were looking out for me and allow that to happen. And this is the season of Hanukkah, and you have to look at miracles, and maybe you examine them, but maybe you also have to accept how this works. And it doesn't always work for me. Things don't always align for me. Things I think that I need to do, I can't do. But this was meant to be. And I said just before I lost my jacket, I said to God, it was like a private prayer. I said, if I'm meant to get to Robin, I will. And if I can't right now, it won't happen. And I guess I was meant to do it. And I wonder how many of you have had these coincidences happen. And I don't believe in coincidence. I really don't. Too many things aligned for this to happen. But I guess what I do need to do is to thank, Rhonda and her sister Karen and her father and this whole family that made this possible. I also want to say thanks to Donna Danbro, who is of a different religion than me, but she's actually an Episcopal minister, but I somehow connect to her. She was on the trip to Poland also, and she's been a very great Facebook friend, and I appreciate her moral support in all these crises. It helps to get moral support, to know that you're on the right track, and to help you, be grateful for what you have. And even when you don't seem to have that much, you have to be grateful for what you do have. It's just like Rose said, if you reach out and you imagine abundance, perhaps abundance will come to you. So in this case, that is what happened here, and I'm very grateful that it did happen, that I got to see my daughter, who I affectionately call my little bird. You see, my mom used to call her Fegele, which means little bird in Yiddish, but I don't want to replace my mom. And so I say in English, little bird, to give it a little twist on, what she is to me, my little bird. And then little bird goes back for me from my little brother Stewie, because he used to see the robins fly on the lawn. He says, I wish I could fly. He didn't talk about walking anymore because he had muscular dystrophy. And so it stemmed back to Stewie again. For whatever reason, I'm grateful that I could reach out to my daughter and see her in Orlando. I also saw my grandson Scott, and I gave him a lot of hugs. So I was grateful for that too.